We'll start with the prayers. Om Sahana Bhavato Sahanau Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvi Navaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Our study continues on Dakshinamurthy Stotram. Today we are going to take the third verse of this text consisting of 10 verses. Dakshinamurthy Stotram, as I have explained before, is one of the marvelous work of Adi Shankaracharya. Apart from Brahmanandavalli, Brahmanyanavalli, which he had written, where he says, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. In one verse, he conveys the entire gist of all the scriptural study. Very, very beautiful way of communication of the essence of the entire Veda. We have already taken Brahmanyanavalli. You have the videos. Many of you have attended the classes of those. After that particular text, I find Dakshinamurthy Stotram is the next best text which reveals the real nature of the self. In short 10 verses, Shankaracharya is able to communicate what Chandogya Upanishad says, what Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, what Bhagavad Gita says. 10 verses. And they are so beautiful verses, he can convey the essence in these verses, depicts his scholarship on the entire scriptures. Verse number 1 talks about what we experience in life as the world, Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari. And this world which we experience, he has said in the first verse that this world we experience is because of a Maya Shakti which belongs to Ishvara. The first thing we should learn about this world is I am not the creator of this world. There is a higher power existing in this world, which we call in the scriptures as Ishvara, the Lord, and it is his vibhuti. His glory is this entire world, which we as jivas experience. It's a drishyam. It is seen. How is it seen? He has given two examples here. Number one is, he says, it's like a city which is reflected in a big mirror. So the pure consciousness, the Atma, is compared to a mirror. Our own real self is compared to a mirror. And in this mirror, we are also a part of that mirror. The body and mind, when I say we, it means the body, mind is a part of that big mirror. We are also included in that mirror. That mirror is nothing else but Atma, Chaitanyam, pure consciousness. We are all seen in the mirror during the waking state. In the sleep state, this mirror is still there, but the seen has merged into that consciousness in sleep. So this Dvaitam which we see, duality which I see in the waking state, I, the Jiva, and the world, the Jagat, they both merge into one consciousness in the sleep state. Again, when we wake up the next day, the Maya power of this Ishvara projects this entire universe, which is called as the Vikshepa Shakti. So in the first verse, Shankaracharya is trying to teach us the Mithyatvam of Jagat. Mithyatvam of Jagat means the appearance, nature of the world as an appearance is what is the teaching in the first verse. In order to make us understand a little bit more deeper, he gives the example of the dream. Like in a dream, the dreamer experiences a world outside the dreamer. Whenever we study the scriptures, we always end up with the three states of consciousness: waking, dream, and sleep. Whichever text you do, ultimately they all boil down to these three states, and then they analyze these three states beautifully to convey to us what is our real nature. Who am I cannot be understood unless and until you understand the three states of consciousness: waking, dream, and deep sleep. Right in Tattvabodha itself, Shankaracharya taught us that consciousness is not the three bodies, it is not the three states, and it is not the five koshas. So what he does in this first verse is, he teaches us that in a dream, the dreamer, the knowledge of the dream and the dream objects, all the three, the knower, known, and knowing process, all the three become one waker, and the waker realizes it is me who was in this dream. I had projected the dream through my Nidra Shakti. What Shankaracharya wants to say is this Ishvara, which we are trying to realize the nature of that Ishvara, nature of Ishvara is very similar to the Jiva. Ishvara does not have ignorance about himself, but he has the projection power. Vikshepa Shakti. So the waking world is his projection. Somebody had asked me a question, is this also a dream for the Ishvara? No, it is not a dream. It is, he has full knowledge that it is his own Maya Shakti which has projected this waking world. So the first verse is teaching us the mithyatvam of the waking Jagrat Prapancha, exactly like the dream, the waking state. In the waking state, I, the waker, experience the waking objects, and through the instruments called the sense organs and the mind, I experience joy and sorrow throughout my life. This is what is our experience. Ultimately, the entire scriptures want us to analyze our own experience and come to realization that we are that pure Sat Chit Ananda. That is the objective of all our study. Then we come to second verse. In the second verse, here we are talking about the waking state in particular. And the example here, two examples have been taken up. One is the seed. From the seed, we get the tree. That is one example. And the second example is of a magician, Mahayogi. Mahayogi is this Lord. So in the second verse, what he is teaching us is that this waking world has a seed. And the seed for the waking world is our own karmas. Our own karmas and karma phalam, which is there in each one of us account, that is the seed. And that is what we call it as Karana Sharira. So from the level of the seed to the world, yes, we can see cause-effect relationship, including time and space. But the moment we are talking about Ishvara in his real Swarupam, then this cause-effect relationship we have to drop. These are the teachings in a very important text called as Vichara Sagara, and also in Mandukya Karika, very similar meaning we get. The cause-effect relationship holds true from Karana Shariram to Sukshma Shariram to Sthula Shariram, but we have to use another technique called as Adhyasa and Adhishtanam. When we are analyzing the Sakshi or Ishvara's Nirguna Tattvam, we have to use another technique which is called as Adhishtanam. The Adhishtanam means for this space-time, for this entire waking world, the Adhishtanam is Sat Chit Ananda. And like a magician creates a magic show, this Ishvara, who has got this Maya Shakti, is the creator of this entire universe. In this universe, we are a part. We come and play a small role for 80 years, 100 years, and then we leave this body. Again, we take a rebirth. That is what the scriptures say. So this world is non-separate from Ishvara is the teaching. Like the dream was non-separate from the waker, this waking world is non-separate from Satchit Ananda, or that pure consciousness, or whatever we call it as Ishvara. So the world is sustained by one Vastu, one entity, and that is the substratum. We can call it by any name. We call it Ishvara, we call it Paramatma, we call it by any name. We call it Brahman. All these are just names. But the very important point we should remember, and this should be drilled in our mind, because this is the essence of the whole Indian scriptures, that there is some higher power. That higher power is called as Satyam Jnanam Anantam. That higher power has got Maya Shakti. Maya Shakti is of the nature of Trigunatmika, is of the nature of three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Now, this is how the entire build-up is, and how we are supposed to realize I am that pure consciousness. With this small introduction to the first two verses, which we have already covered, I will now get into the third verse where we stopped last week. The third verse is the essence of the Tattvamasi teaching. The first verse is about Tvampada, the Jiva. The Jiva dreams, the Jiva's experience is shown. The second verse is about Tatpada. Tatpada means Ishvara, the creator, the one who is responsible for the entire creation of this, what we experience as the world. So the second verse is Tatpada, the first verse is Tvampada. A Mahavakya, as you all have studied Upanishads, most of you have, Tattvamasi comes in Chandogya Upanishad, and that is what Shankaracharya refers in the third verse. And he tries to convey what is the essence of this Tattvamasi in the third verse. Yasyaiva sfuranam sadatmakam asat kalpartakam bhasate sakshat tattvamasi veda vachasa yobhodayat yashritan yat sakshat karanat bhave na punaravritim bhava bodhidau tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye namaidam Shri Dakshinamurthy. This is how the third verse goes. For those of you who want to practice or learn these verses by chanting, I have already circulated to you the chanting verses of Swami Brahmananda from Bangalore of Chinmay Mission. And these verses are very good verses for very sincere seekers. And these are all people who are studying Vedanta for 3 years or 2 years in different schools in India. They chant these 10 verses every day in the morning at 6 o'clock in front of the idol of Dakshinamurthy. Because ultimately they are trying to realize the teaching of Dakshinamurthy. That is the goal they have chosen in life. People spend 40, 50 years studying Vedanta. They realize, all of them, they realize the truth. So this is the essence. You can also take it up for chanting if you would like to. You can learn it by heart. You can chant. It takes hardly 10 minutes to chant these 10 verses. So the third verse, I'll just give you a gist of what the third verse is so that you can then we'll enter into the description here. What this really tells us is that there is no world if we are not conscious of it. So there is a being, a pure being. This Ishvara, which we have discussed in the second verse, is ultimately a conscious, existent, self-revealing, independent, pure being. And that pure being, what is the nature of that pure being? It's consciousness, Chaitanya. That is what is the essence which the third verse is revealing. And that is our Swarupa. Our Swarupa means that is my innate nature. I see this body, I do a lot of work with this body, I function in this world with the body, with my mind. I have so much of knowledge, but this is only a small portion of me. The bigger portion, which I really don't know, which the scriptures reveal to me, my eyes cannot see this consciousness, but it is there. When we are studying these verses, we must have the full faith that yes, the scriptures are revealing which my eyes cannot see. It exists. This consciousness is a real being. It's a pure being in which the whole universe comes, in which the whole universe dissolves. Mayeva sakalam jatam, may sarvam pratishtitam, may sarvam layam yati. Kaivalya Upanishad very beautifully describes our nature. The same thing is being revealed here. What reveals my body? What reveals your body to you is this consciousness. Body is not self-evident. Body is inert. How do I see this? In what light do I see this body? How does this body become evident to me? Is because of consciousness, the light of consciousness. I am that light of consciousness. I make this body evident to me. For me, the whole world is also evident. I look at the stars, I look at the planets, I look at the galaxies. I mean, my eyes can have limited power, but the consciousness, which is my real nature, has got tremendous power. So the one which makes my body evident is this consciousness, which the same consciousness makes the whole world evident. That revealer of the whole world is none other than Dakshinamurthy, my Guru Murti. That is what Shankaracharya says in this third verse. Very, very beautiful verse. And always we take existence of the world with reference to time. But time itself is an object of consciousness. Space is an object of consciousness. Space and time, they collapse in our sleep state and they become unmanifest. But I, the consciousness, am aware of the unmanifest state of the world. This is how we have to understand this consciousness. This is how Mandukya Upanishad explains to us the Turiyam principle. This is the ultimate substance, which all the scriptures are trying to reveal. Whatever you're studying in by way of spiritual study, be it Kathopanishad, Nachiketa, and the Yamadharmaraja. What Yamadharmaraja taught to Nachiketa is the same anyatra dharma, anyatra adharma, anyatra krita akrita, bhutacha bhavyacha. Kathopanishad was talking about the same consciousness, existence principle. Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, Kshetraknyam chapi mam viddhi sarvakshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetraktayo jnanam tat jnanam matam mama. That is my knowledge. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord says, this is that Satchit Atma, which he was trying to reveal. Taittiriya Upanishad, beyond the five koshas, From where these entire five elements rise, the cause of the five elements, that is what is this Satchidananda. Mundaka Upanishad says, knowing what can I know the whole world? Knowing one thing. This is Satchidananda. That is the same thing which is being revealed in the third verse. Gita, Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, Uttama Purusha Svanyaha, Paramatme Tudahrata, Yolo Katrama Vishya. So that verse, Uttama Purusha, is what is Satchidananda Ishvara. That is the same. So this is self-evident, self-revealing. It does not require another light, another consciousness to illumine this consciousness. We will study this aspect of illumination in the next verse, in the fourth verse. But just remember, whatever we have studied, recollect those verses when we are learning these third verse. Now, Tatra Suryo Bhati, same thing is revealed in this verse. So all this are coming and telling us that there is one principle in which this entire world rests, from where this world appears and the whole world resolves. Dvaitam is an appearance. Advaitam is the truth, is the reality. If you can understand this third verse very well, your spiritual journey is complete. That is the importance of this third verse. This is the Asipada in Tattvamasi. So Tat, Tvam, we have seen first. Tat, we have seen. This is the Asipada. What does this verse say? He whose manifestations are themselves nothing but the reality appear as the objects of the world. Very, very clear. See the meaning here. It is an appearance. The world is an appearance, exactly like the dream was an appearance for me. The dream is a subjective appearance for me. My dream is different than somebody else's dream. Therefore, it is subjective. But the world, waking world, is not a subjective mithya experience, but the world is objective mithya experience. This world is created by the Shakti, that higher principle, that Satchidananda principle, Nirguna Tattva. So it is an appearance, the first portion. And Lord Dakshinamurthy reveals this. It is not revealed by any other way. It is the scriptures. The Chandogya Upanishad reveals this as Tattvamasi. So who gets this knowledge is mentioned in the second part of this verse. One who has surrendered to him. I have dropped my ego, that small jiva bhava. I am so and so. That is dropped. Whenever we are with a guru, we have to be completely open in our mind, drop all our notions about ourselves, and then listen to the scriptures from the words of the guru. Then this Tattvamasi becomes clear. That is the meaning of surrendering to Dakshinamurthy. Surrendering here means keeping the mind empty to receive the final ultimate knowledge. Once we do that, what happens? Enlightenment happens. How does it happen? When I hear the Vedic statement, Tat Tvam Asi, from the Guru, and I understand that Tat means the indicative meaning of Ishvara, Tvam means the indicative meaning of the jiva. And now I'm trying to understand Tat Tvam Asi means that indicative principle, which is that pure consciousness, is nothing else but me, the pure consciousness. That when the Guru says you are that, it means that he is indicating to me to realize my real nature as that pure awareness principle. I am. When the Guru says you are that, when we take that, when we hear that, we should hear it as this is my nature. I am that pure consciousness. I am that pure awareness which the scriptures are revealing as Tattvamasi. And when I understand that I am that pure awareness without my body, without my mind, I drop all the conditions of the body and mind completely. Body was born, body will die, that is dropped. Mind had problems of sorrow, joy, I drop. Intellect had its own problems of knowledge and ignorance, I drop. They are all incidental properties belonging to the body and mind, but not to me. I am crystal clear. Body is a medium, it is an upadhi. The world is a medium, it is an upadhi. What is behind this whole world is that pure existence principle. It is, it is, it is. That consciousness in me is this existence principle in this universe. It is the same. So the nature, my nature, when I understand it is pure Sat, pure Chit, without the world, without the body, without the mind, whatever it is, whatever my intellect is able to understand, that is what Dakshinamurthy says is your real nature. And once then what he says is, this is called as Sakshat experience, Aparoksha Anubhuti. This experience is a direct experience of the self. And once I have this experience of the self in me, in my own nature, I have understood I am that pure consciousness. Then he says, there is no more return to this worldly life of samsara as real. It will, samsara, the world, body, mind will still be appearing and disappearing, waking state, dream state, sleep state, this will keep continuing. But I know that I am that pure Satchit principle in which the whole experiences come and go. I negate in my own understanding the experiences and I take the substratum as my real nature. This is the divine entity. The pure consciousness existence is divine. Is nothing, you cannot compare to the material world, which belongs to the 5 elements. The material world have got manifestation, unmanifestation, again manifestation and unmanifestation. This is the nature of the world of matter. But beyond this world of matter is this consciousness, pure, ever evident, self-illumined, where the sun cannot shine, where the moon cannot shine, but it is self-evident. It reveals itself as I am. Even during our waking state, yes, if I have known through this knowledge, through this third mantra, if my intellect can understand, I am that pure being. This knowledge remains with us throughout our life and it becomes, we can easily abide in it because that is the truth. I have full faith in in the Shastras. Eyes cannot see this consciousness, but I know that this is what I am. This is my nature. I can live. I am never alone. I am that pure being. This is what is revealed in the third verse. Now I will go ahead and present whatever I have put here. This explanation is, you can try to understand. For those who are very, very new to the topic of Vedanta, this may sound a little silly, but for those who have got the background of the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads, this is a revelation. This third verse is a revelation. What is the relationship between Jagat Karanam Brahma and Avastatraya Sakshi Jivaha? That is how we have to start. What is the relationship between that pure consciousness and this whole world? That is the essence which is being revealed here. What is that relationship? The relationship between me and my son or daughter is very clear, because both are in the same Vyavaharika field. Our field of experience is the same. There is a cause. I am the cause, but my children are my effect. Similarly, I was the effect for my parents. So there is a cause effect cycle in the whole world. Whenever we say that there is an object existent, that is what we call it as experience, because sense organs are involved. They reveal to me the sense objects. What happens when all the sense organs are closed? I am still there. So here we are discussing what is an existent object and a non-existent object from the worldly standpoint. In the world, I say an object exists when my sense organs are able to perceive. And they are all, chair exists, sun exists, the stars exist, galaxies exist, my son exists, the world exists before me. And what is non-existent? Whatever I have not experienced, we call it as non-existent. For example, I don't see flowers in the sky, so it's non-existent. Simple thing. Is there an elephant in my room right now? No, there's no elephant. So this is what my senses perceive, I say is existent. What my senses do not perceive is what I consider as non-existent. But this is actually, existent is a wrong word. Appearance is a right word here. But this is our Laukika world. This is how we understand the world. What is the nature of existence enjoyed by the whole creation? That is the mystery. That is where Vedanta and the Indian scriptures, they begin. Wherever the science stops, the Big Bang, they stop. That is where the science ends. That's where they say that beyond Big Bang, we don't know what happened. But that is where the Indian philosophers, they start. They say there is something beyond the Big Bang. There is a being, there is a pure being. What is mystery to philosophers around the world? Vedanta takes it up and reveals the nature of Sat Chit Ananda. Vedanta has a unique perception of existence and consciousness. Very unique. This is a totally unique subject matter. We should learn that existence normally, which we say in the world, is different than the existence here, which we are talking about in the scriptures. Existence, Sat principle. Here, it is not an appearance, but it is a Sat. Sat means existence. Chit means consciousness. Sat and Chit are basically noun. They are not an adjective here. Here we are not talking about the worldly type of existence and non-existence. Here we are talking about pure being, pure consciousness. This is a totally different revelation from the scriptures. That is what is being revealed. There is something which is being revealed. What is its nature? Its nature is existence and consciousness. That is what is called as Asi. That is the Lakshyartha. That is what is called as the oneness between the Tvam Pada and the Tat Pada. We have seen in the last second verse, I had explained to you how the Mahavakyam has to be understood. The diagram I had shown, if you have not gone through it, you can just go through the last session. You will find, but this is the ultimate Aikya Pada, Aikya explanation, the oneness explanation. In the Tvam Pada, I explained last week, there is a Vachyartha and a Lakshyartha. Vachyartha refers to the body, mind, and intellect. The Lakshyartha means the indicative meaning of Jiva is the Chaitanyam, the pure consciousness principle. This pure consciousness is Nirakara Spurti. Spurti means consciousness. Nirakara means formless consciousness. So when we look at ourselves as a jiva, we must ultimately come to the knowledge that I am a pure conscious being. That is my ultimate swarupam. In that swarupam, there is no object. This is what is called as objectless awareness. Pure consciousness. When I analyze the world, I analyze myself first, Tvam-pada. Then I analyze the world, which is Tat-pada. Tat-pada is also called as Paramatma. Here it is called a Jivatma for Tvam. When we analyze the world, it is the Paramatma. Paramatma means the supreme Atma. Atma ultimately is one. It expresses as an individual, it expresses as the total. Vyashti, Samashti. When we look at Samashti, we call it and we say it is Paramatma. And in the Paramatma, there is also Vachyartha and Lakshyartha. Vachyartha means whatever is seen. The seen world is the Vachyartha. And the Lakshyartha is the seer. The pure Sat principle, existence principle. We are going to ultimately say that Sat and Chit are one. It will come a little later, but just to know that Sat, whenever we say anything is existent, it means that it is consciousness also. Unless you are conscious of that existence, it cannot be existent. Similarly, when we say I am conscious, it means I am existent. So existence and consciousness always are together. And therefore, the scriptures have described my real nature as that Sat Chit principle, and the real nature of the entire universe is also the same Sat Chit principle. Nirakara Satta. In the left hand side, you saw Spurti, consciousness, formless, consciousness. In the right side, when we look at the whole world, we come to the formless existence principle. Whenever we try to, this particular verse, third verse, is technical by nature. Technical means it's a step-by-step understanding for the intellect to come to a conclusion about my own nature as Satchid Ananda. How the Vedanta explains that is through a technical reasoning. This is how they bring it out. Because ultimately, we are all human beings. We have got two instruments, the heart and the head. Through emotions, through bhakti, we can come to a particular level. After that, the heart cannot help us. The emotional side has to take the help of the reasoning part. The intellect has to be convinced. And the intellect always tries to understand deeper and deeper. Every time it tries to understand, who is this? Why is this? What is the cause? Why am I experiencing this? Why this is happening to me? Why this is happening to the world? It is the intellect. So we have to satisfy the intellect. And the only way we can satisfy the intellect is through the words of the scriptures and the analysis of the Mahavakya. This is the ultimate subject matter for a guru to handle with the students, to teach him or her the final nature of the jiva. Let's go a little bit deeper. Our experiences are of two types, aham and idam. Aham refers to the body and mind. My own body and mind is aham. Outside this body and mind, whatever I experience, the standpoint with reference to this body is idam. So the standpoint is very important. From Sakshi point of view, it is all one. But from the world point of view, there is aham and there is idam. Aham and idam have a substratum. That substratum is called as Satchid Ananda. That is how we should understand the pure Sat and the pure Chit. They together with the Maya Shakti, they become Aham and Idam. The mind, each of us have the mind. As soon as we wake up in the morning, the Maya Shakti is effective. It starts functioning for us. The mind breaks up into aham and idam. I, the body and mind, which is being revealed, I take it as aham, and the whole world is different from me, is idam. We will understand these two, aham and idam. We'll try to go deeper into the understanding part, and then we will realize ultimately this aham and idam is nothing else but pure consciousness. One consciousness is expressing as aham and idam. So this aham, we must analyze with reference to the body, and as I said earlier, aham has to be understood as consciousness. So let's go through the principle of the consciousness, analyze the aham, the body and mind first, then we'll come to the idam part. There are 5 principles which we should understand with reference to this aham, the pure consciousness. Now we are understanding what is this consciousness principle. Consciousness is not a part, it's not a product It is not a property of the body. Bhagavad Gita teaches this. Keno Upanishad teaches this. All the Upanishad, they tell us that it is ashabdam, asparsham, arupam. It is not the body. It is not the upadi. So consciousness is not a part or a product or a property of the body. Body is conscious, but consciousness is not a part or a product of the body. So that means we have to separate the drik and the drishya. Drishyam is this body. Drik is this consciousness. That is the first principle. What I see, it becomes evident. Body becomes evident to this consciousness. And it becomes non-evident to this consciousness in sleep. But consciousness remains as the light, ever existent light. The next principle we should understand is it is an independent principle. Satyam. Whatever we are learning here is the same learning which we have to do in the chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita when we do the third verse. That verse is also a Mahavakyam. Anytime you learn Mahavakyam, you have to go through these 5 principles. Then you will understand what this Mahavakyam is and what it is trying to reveal to us and how I can get the knowledge of that pure existent consciousness principle as me, as my own Swarupa. So the second principle is consciousness is independent principle. That means in sleep, I know that I exist as pure consciousness. Without the body, without the mind, I exist. I am that pure consciousness, independently existing. That is why it is called as Satya. Real. In Vivek Chodamani, the whole Vivek Chodamani is discriminating between real and unreal. Satyam and Mithya. So the consciousness is Satyam, world is Mithya, body is Mithya. And consciousness is enlivened by this, body is enlivened by the consciousness. So the 2 principles, the drik enlivens the drishya, makes it sentient. This body, you are hearing, I am listening, you are hearing my talk. I am speaking. I am speaking because of the Shakti of this pure consciousness. You are hearing because of the Shakti of that pure consciousness. The Shakti, that power, your hearing capacity, my speaking capacity, both are one. One principle. Consciousness is a noun, it is not an adjective. It is with a capital C. We say body is conscious. But we are talking how or what is this consciousness? That is why it becomes a noun. When we say body is conscious, we take it as an attribute of the body. But Vedanta is teaching us consciousness exists by itself. Body is an object of awareness for the consciousness. The third principle is this consciousness principle is not limited by the boundary of the body. So that when it is not limited, we call it as all pervading or sarvagataha. All pervading principle, immanent principle. It is like the space. Space is all pervading. And what does the space depend on for its existence? On this consciousness. Taittiriya Upanishad. Etasva jayate pranaha, prana, that particular verse which we have in Taittiriya Upanishad. From this Atma comes the space, from space comes the air, from air comes the fire principle, water principle, earth principle. This is how the whole world gets projected. The fourth principle we should understand about this consciousness is it continues to exist even after the body is destroyed. Very important principle, because we all think we are the body with consciousness, and we think that this consciousness goes away. But what Vedanta is teaching us is it survives the death of the body. How can I understand this? Very simple. Look at our nature in sleep. We are not aware of the body, we are not aware of the world, but we still exist. As what? As this pure consciousness. So Vedanta is not teaching us, scriptures are not teaching what we don't experience. It is trying to remove the ignorance about what we think we are. It removes the ignorance that I am not the body, I am not the ignorance about the Atma. So it says neti neti. It says drop the body, drop the mind, but claim that consciousness as your nature. The fifth principle is once the body goes, the surviving consciousness is not recognizable. Why? Because the medium is gone for it to manifest. When I see the moon light, the sun I don't see. So the moon manifests the moon, manifests the sun, the moon manifests the sun, sunlight. I don't see the sun, but I see the moonlight. So the moonlight is a manifestation of the sun, which I don't see. So similarly, when this body is there, it is a manifestation of that consciousness, which is there, but I don't see. When the body is gone, when the moon is gone, the sun is ever there. It reveals itself as ever present. That's it. So when the body and the mind is not there, the scriptures reveal to us our nature. I am that pure consciousness. That's all. I'm ever there. It's ever existent. I'm immortal. That is the eternity which the scriptures bring about. That is the essence of the teaching of all the scriptures. Whenever you try to analyze Atma or Brahman, these 5 points, if you have it in your mind, you will not go wrong. Because it's self-revealing. I know this is self-existent and self-revealing. That's my nature. In that pure being, this experience of body, mind comes and goes. It's an appearance. In the waker, the experience of the dream comes and goes. In Satchidananda Atma, this experience of the waking comes and goes. Appearance. Mithya. Satyam is Satchidananda. If you have understood this aspect about Aham, it's easy to understand the Idam. The Idam is nothing else but the world, which is seen by me. Now, when I say the world, very important when we understand this Idam, is this particular body and mind is also a part of this Idam, this world. That is how we should start. So when I have put the body and mind into the world itself, then I start the analysis. Universe is existent, we all know. Existence is not a part, product, or a property of the world. Clip is. The easiness of the clip, easiness of the desk, easiness of the body does not belong to the body. It is a separate principle. It is not a part. Existence is not a part, product, or property of the clip. Clip is experienced by me as existent. That is the first principle. Then the second principle is what? This existence principle is an independent principle. It's an independent substance. I'm putting it as a substance here, but actually it is not even a substance. It is an independent entity. Substance is always with an attribute. This one is without an attribute, but for understanding purposes, I'm calling it as a substance. Satyam. So it pervades every object in the universe and makes every object existent. I see a tree is, a car is, a laptop is, a mobile is, everything is. So what is this is? That is the existent principle. Like we said, consciousness is a noun. Similarly, existence is a noun. Existence is beyond the clip because existence, the tree is also existent, the desk is also existent, your body is also existent, my body is also existent. Existence is sarvagataha. It is all pervading. Existence exists even after the destruction of the clip. Suppose the whole world gets destroyed. In pralaya avastha, like we have the deep sleep state, there is a pralaya avastha for the world. So in that pralaya avastha, they say existence is still there. That principle, that tattvam continues. Even if the body goes away, what happens? Existence is. Body can be burnt into ashes, but existence is self-revealing. It is there. That is what is the revelation of the scriptures. There is another. This is what Nachiketa wanted to know from Yamadharma Raja. Same thing. The next principle, once the world goes away, existence survives. Light survives when the hand is removed. I see your body, I see, when the body is not there, the light is still there in the room. The space is still there. So existence is still there, but without a medium, it is not recognizable. Like I said, the moonlight manifests the sun, the sunlight. Similarly, our body, mind, and the whole world manifests this existence principle. When the world is collapsed, destroyed, existence exists, satta survives. This pure existence was, is, ever will be. It is lending existence to the arriving and the departing world. So, with reference to the body, we call this Satchit principle as Chaitanyam, the pure consciousness, independent consciousness principle separated from the body and mind. And this pure consciousness, we say it lends consciousness to the body and mind. Similarly, the world, when you look at the whole world, we say there is an existent principle, and that existent principle lends existence to the world. Satta and Spurti. This is what Shankaracharya is trying to explain in the third verse. That pure consciousness is nothing else but it is the pure existence. When you remove all the names and forms from the world of objects, what remains is this existence. From me, if you remove the body and mind and the thoughts, suppose, for example, you just ask yourself, if I'm not the body, if I'm not the mind which is giving me all the thoughts during the day, suppose the thoughts were not there, who am I? I will be this pure consciousness. So this existent consciousness makes this body sentient and the world existent. This line is very important, that Satchit Ananda is the one entity which is always there, eternally there. Time is an object of consciousness. Space is an object of consciousness and existent principle. It's an object. When this object is gone, what remains is, when the time and space is gone, as in sleep, what remains is this pure being. This recognition of oneness of existence and consciousness is called as Jivatma, Paramatma, Aikya Jnanam, which is the essence of the verse 3. Whichever guru manages to communicate this pure existence and pure consciousness principle to the students, that guru is called as Dakshinamurthy. That is what Shankaracharya very beautifully expresses in these 10 verses. That guru, my guru is, who is my guru? It is that guru is there in me. Intrinsically, it is there in my own Atma as Antaryami. That Antaryami is getting revealed by these words of Shankaracharya. He says that is Dakshinamurthy. And that guru who's teaching me my own Swarupam, to that guru is my Namaskara. Very beautiful verse. This third verse is an amazing verse. Chandogya Upanishad reveals the same subject, Satchit Atma. Sadeva Saumya Idamagre Asi. Ekameva Advitiyam. Very important verse of Chandogya Upanishad. It says that this pure existence and consciousness was there before the world appeared. Exactly like our experience before our waking state comes up. For us, we are pure existence consciousness. I know this only because I have the knowledge of the scriptures. The knowledge of scriptures is a pramana. Like my eyes can tell me who I am or what I see. Eyes can tell me what I can see, the form and color, the sound. My ears can express to me, can explain. They are all pramanams. They are sources of knowledge of the sound. Taste. My tongue knows the taste. So the pramanam, the instrument I use to understand this Satchit, pure existent consciousness principle, is the Shastra. The words of the Upanishads. And it is these words of Shankaracharya in Dakshinamurthy Stotram, these words of the Upanishads, of Chandogya Upanishad, 6th chapter, 9 times the Guru tells the student, Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi. He gives 9 examples. Every verse in Chandogya Upanishad. So that the student knows that there is something, there is something, there is something. Like in a seed, I can't see the whole banyan tree. When I see this body and mind, there is something beyond this, which is this consciousness. Urdhva Moolam. 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is the same Satchidananda principle. Normally, when we try to understand this pure consciousness and pure existence principle, because they are very, very subtle, the scriptures themselves, they give us 2 upasanas, 2 meditations. One is the space, another is the light. These are the 2 upasanas, meditations they ask us to practice. When we understand the light principle or the space principle, it becomes easier for me to understand this pure consciousness or pure existence without reflecting medium or objects. So light, you should meditate without the medium of objects. What is light? Without, suppose you take the sunlight and you take this entire sunlight, which is across so many planets and so many stars. And so what I'm saying is pure sunlight without any objects. What is it like? It's exactly like that pure consciousness, without any objects, without any medium. Similarly, space without objects, how it will be? It will be the same like Satchit Ananda, Atma. So Akasha Upasana is given in Taittiriya Upanishad. We understand Akasha, Akasha means space, without the objective medium, which means empty space, or light without any objects. Panchadeshi uses the light example. It says that in a stage, you remove all the actors and actresses. What remains when the actors and actresses are gone? That means the waking state is gone, and deep sleep state, what happens is the light still remains. That light which remains is the light of consciousness. Understand consciousness as the witness without the thoughts. Very beautiful. I always ask people to meditate on being a witness to the thoughts. That is the first step. Constantly I'm seeing thoughts rise and thoughts go off, constantly rises. One subject comes up, my daughter comes up in my meditation. Again, some other, what do I have to cook for today comes up. Then the third, some other topic comes up. What's happening to COVID in Singapore? Another new topic comes up. These are all thoughts. They're all in another plane of consciousness, which is the subtle plane. So we are able to be in the physical plane, at the same time think about our thoughts in a subtle plane. But there is another plane which is beyond the subtle plane. That is the plane of Atma, which is consciousness, which we call it as Sakshi. Beyond the subtler level, because subtler level is still material. Our mind is throwing up thoughts, the thought factory. Each one of us has got a huge factory of thoughts. And constantly producing thoughts after thoughts. For each one it is different. Our Karana Shariram is different. Our Karma Phalas are different. So different thoughts will come. We'll experience different thoughts through this body. But what is the substratum for all this? Is this pure consciousness or pure existence. So every thought which we experience is a light getting reflected, like the moon which gets the reflection of the sunlight. Every thought is a reflection of the Atma. That pure consciousness is there. It is revealing to us, come and see us. This is my address. Where there is nothing. Natatra Suryo Bhati, where there is no light, where there is no light of the stars. That is the address of God. That is the address of Paramatma. The scriptures come and tell us, come see me there. That is the witness consciousness. What I will do is I will stop here for the time being, and because the time is up, we will stop here and we'll continue our talk next week from this two examples, light and space. We will continue this topic. This is a very important verse. I've taken a long time to explain this, but it's very important to understand. You can go through these verse meanings. Dakshinamurthy itself is a tremendous text. It's a beautiful text. You can study it again and again till you are satisfied. I am this Atma. And once you have understood, then you have reached home, the final home, which the scriptures are teaching us, which Lord Dakshinamurthy is teaching us. With our namaskarams to him, we will end this today's talk, and then we'll continue next week. With the verse number 3 itself. We'll continue next week. If you have any questions, even after next week, you can still send me a WhatsApp message. I can still reply, but this is something which you need to contemplate. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnahat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. If there are any questions, you can ask me. I'll go through the chat. Bal Shankar is asking, our real Swarupa is Satchit Anandam and nothing else, as every now and then repeatedly emphasized in all Shastras. But in 24 hours, when emotions overtake us, we forget everything about our Swarupam. That is Anantamayam, and lament. Why? What should be done? Very beautiful question. See, this is like I said, that all our experiences which we are having, we must take it as our own prarabdha karma phala. We cannot negate the experiences. These will come, we will experience, but the only knowledge is, if we at any time we become aware of these problems, then we ask this question, who am I who is facing these problems? And then at that time, let this knowledge come, I am the Sakshi. Otherwise, in our normal day-to-day experiences, no need to bring the Sakshi Bhava at all. Doesn't matter. Let the experiences come. It automatically will come. Because that is how the world is. Exactly like in a dream. You see, when the dream world is going on, you can never stop it in between if you are a dreamer. Unless somebody wakes you up or you have an alarm which wakes you up, you have to get up and then the dream goes away. But as a dreamer, you cannot stop it. It's impossible. This is the creation of the Lord. As per the karma phala, he is giving us all the experiences. That's all. Let the experiences come. Who cares? Let there be sorrow. Let there be joy. Okay, then. Anyway, it is a mixture. The life is a mixture. Let it come and let it go. What we have to say is, let me remember this teaching. That's all. So, Bal Shankar, have I answered your question? Ailash, yeah, Bal Shankar, have you understood?
I understood. This I am preaching, but I do not know whether I am preaching correct thing or not. That's why I got confirmation from you that what I am doing is correct.
Very good. No problem. Just continue. Let it continue. Don't try to stop any experience from coming. Don't feel rejected. Okay, let it come and go.
Today also something happened. I told my son, these are all temporary things. They will come and go. Just like visitors visit us and go.
Yes.
So don't worry about things. The real thing will prevail over a period of time.
Yes. So I think that's how we have to take our life as. That's how we have to teach others also. They can understand. But that is the truth. You see, what we are saying is the truth. We are not saying anything which is wrong. Only thing is, I'm taking help of the Shastra to run my life. That's all.
That's correct. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else has any other question?
Yeah, I have a question actually, Shekhar.
Yeah, Sandeep. Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. So, what is the difference between Chit and Spurana? You know,
it's the same. The
It's
chit
it's
is
the same.
also is the same. Spuranam and chit is the same.
Okay.
Spuranam is
And
consciousness, chit is consciousness.
also, what about this Chidbhasa?
Chidabhasa, okay.
Yeah,
Abhasa means it is a reflection. Now, this body and mind has got a reflection. That is why that reflection is nothing else but the life in us. Normally, we
okay.
say in the from the Vedanta angle, the life in us is the abhasa, is the reflection of that atma or consciousness in this body and mind. So chit abhasa means the chit exists by itself independently. Like the sun exists independently, moon gets the light reflected of the sun. So when you see the moon with the light of the sun, we call it moonlight. So similarly, consciousness, when it is reflected in the body and we are awake, for example, I'm awake, I see my body. I see my body because of the reflection of consciousness in this body, and that reflection is called as abhasa, chit abhasa. So
Okay.
chidabhasa means the jiva. The jiva is a mixture of consciousness and matter, the five elements. So the five elements constitute the matter that has the capacity to get a reflection. I'm using the word reflection, but there is no other word because it gets enlivened by consciousness. So Chidabhasa is nothing else but the enlivening factor in all of us. It is a component. It is the amsha. Mamaivamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha. In the Bhagavad Gita, it says, the Lord says, I am the amsha in every jiva. That amsha is nothing else but is the Chid Abhasa.
So and this Chidabhasa is getting reflected in the intellect of every person, right?
Yes, the Chidabhasa is getting reflected in the intellect of every person. Suppose you go to sleep today. What happens is that Chidabhasa is there in the Karana Sharira. It is no longer there in the subtle body, which we call it as the intellect. That Karana Shariram is called as ignorance. And so in the intellect is this reflection. So tomorrow morning when we wake up, what happens is that intellect, the Sukshma Buddhi, it gets the reflection of the consciousness. And then it wakes up. But consciousness is always there. My teaching is what? The teaching is drop the whatever is happening to this buddhi. Buddhi is going to go through this life. Like what Balashankar was saying, I am going to experience life as per what my karma is or whatever is I have to do throughout the day, I will do. So here the teaching is, I am that pure consciousness. We have to learn to separate the buddhi, which has got the light of consciousness, and drop that buddhi with the thoughts and with all the thoughts which go on during the whole day. And then say that light which is there, which is the enlivening power for the intellect, that light is this consciousness. The pure chit is my real nature. Chit abhasa is my experience. All I experience is always with chidabhasa, with the reflected consciousness. This reflected consciousness is there in the body, it is there in the sense organs, it is there in the gross body, it is also there in the whole universe of objects, because that consciousness is all pervading.
One more, to answer, to extend this question. So once it is reflected in intellect, is it passing through the mind, those sense organs? Is it from the intellect or is it from the current sharira? You got what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. You see, the intellect again cannot exist without the Karana Sharira. Like the Sthula Shariram cannot exist without the Sukshma Shariram, which is the intellect and the prana and all that. The prana and this thing cannot exist without the Karana Sharira. So the reflection is there in the Karana Shariram. That means that Karana Shariram is nothing else but our sleep state. That sleep state is the cause of the waking state and the dream state.
Okay. So one other question is like, once a person leaves the body, so definitely it is the subtle body which travels, into Avyakta. Is it correct?
Yes, you're right. So when a person leaves this Thula Shariram, the gross body, then what happens is he is not dead. He is not dead is only from the point of view of the body, the gross body. But he continues the travel. He takes the Sukshma Shariram, that means the pranas go with him, the intellect goes with him, the 17 components. If you have done the Tattva Bodha, the 17 components, they all travel together to the next Sharira. The prana, the sense organs, and the mind. Primarily these three, when you do the chapter 15th of the Bhagavad Gita, you will know about this. I'll talk a little bit more there. What happens is this Sukshma Shariram, together with the Karana Shariram, it goes and then it deposits itself in another Sthula Shariram.
Yeah, my total point was to answer, to ask, what happens to the Karana Sharira, because subtle body will definitely travel. Will it travel with the subtle body as well?
Yes, it will travel with the subtle body to the next Shariram.
Okay, so it's just like a seed, right?
Yes, yes, the seed is exactly that. That seed will travel, and the seed will get destroyed only when I come to realize my nature as pure Chit. Suppose by God's grace you realize that I am that pure consciousness, then the seed is gone. Till then the seed is there. So what, from the worldly angle, what we have to understand is the seed continues, the Karana Shariram continues, the Sukshma Shariram continues, and it continues in the next Sthula Shariram.
Okay. So, last question, Shikharji. Okay, let's assume that I'm new to this, this world of Vedanta, and there are 5 elements, like as everyone knows, space, air, fire, water, and earth. So, the interesting point here is the space is a very subtlest of all the elements. Okay, and also, for me, how should I differentiate between the Atma as well as space, because both are subtle, right? So I can't see the space. I mean, we can't physically see the space, but at the same time, we can't physically see the Atma, right? So how do we differentiate that? That the Atma is the subtlest of all the things, actually.
Okay, good question. Very good question. It's a deep question because you have thought a lot on this subject matter. The answer to this is, you ask the question, you see, you are right. Space is unmanifest, I can't see. Atma is unmanifest, I can't see. Both are unmanifest as far as I am concerning when I'm looking at it from the physical body point of view, which is the Vyavaharika, which is the waking world. So in the waking world, I will never be able to actually see, or even what we can do is we can intellectually understand. How do I understand this? I don't analyze only the waking state. I try to understand the nature of Atma and try to compare the sleep state with the waking state, which intellectually I can do. You can intellectually do it. In the sleep state, what happens? In the sleep state, the space is not there. But am I there or not? Because next day morning, you come back and say, I had a very good sleep. Who is that I which had a very good sleep? That I is the Atma. In that I, there was no space. I was there without space. I existed without space. This is how the Upanishads, they try to help our intellect to differentiate space which is inert in nature. I, Atma, I am not inert. I am conscious. Even in sleep state, I am conscious. And next day morning, I say, I was conscious. I was conscious, but I was not, I was conscious, but I didn't know the world. I was ignorant about the world. That is called as the ignorance.
Yeah, totally understand. So now I got your point. Like, you know, what you're trying to say is, I think we have to see in an order of reality, right?
Yes, the order of reality is different.
Yeah.
Atma is the subtlest.
Yes, Atma is the subtlest, and space is there, Sthula Shariram is there, mind is there. So you have to make the differences.
We can say mind is more subtler than the space. Mind is subtler than the space, and Atma is the subtlest.
Correct.
Yeah, one thing, Shekharji. So what I'm trying to say is, whenever we're trying to say subtlest, right?
Yes.
So my question is like, okay, we are talking with respect to Vyavaharika Satta. So in Vyavaharika Satta, you know, we do see all these things, but when we take this point into a Paramarthika Satta, which is absolute reality, there's nothing else, right?
Yes, in Paramarthika Satyam, there is nothing else. That is why they say, in my absolute nature, there is nothing, there is no world.
Existence.
Okay.
That is why we say this whole world which we experience is called as Mithya.
Correct.
Whereas Atma is Satyam. But,
Yes, exactly.
But it is Paramarthikam.
Okay, space exists in Atma when we see from a Vyavaharika Satta.
Yes.
But nothing exists except Atma in a Paramarthika Satta.
Yeah, absolutely correct. Yeah, Sandeep, that's correct. I think you've got the point now.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. Anybody else has any other question? Okay, so if there are no questions, then we'll continue next week. And next week, we'll finish the third verse and move on to the fourth verse. These are all difficult verses, but that is what is Vedanta. And once you have caught on to it, means you are a sincere seeker and you have reached the ultimate essence of the whole scriptures.
It's a very high-end verse, actually.
Yes, very, very beautiful verses.
Very highly verse. And this verse is more emphasized on the existence principle. Isness is very difficult to understand, actually. We see existence with reference to the world and all that. But that has been emphasized, that isness. This entire body mind is also part of an existence. So
yes, that's why I said that you put the body mind into the world. Don't try to analyze, keep yourself separate.
That makes it only to say that existence also has no attributes like what we are analyzing all the time, consciousness without attributes.
Existence
From the
is
Chit
attributeless.
principle, Chit principle, Drisya Viveka and all that, when we put it, we get a very clear picture actually. Yes, no attributes and all, but existence also has no attributes, which has been very highly clarified in this Dakshinamurthy.
Yeah,
which
that's
says both existence, consciousness is bliss.
Yes.
That's the way it takes it together.
Yeah, very beautiful verse, which goes.
A very extraordinary verse actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Thank you very much, and good night to everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy Lunar New Year to all of you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. Good night.